Hey guys, I hope you're having a good day cause it's about to get even better with this video. Hopefully. As you guys know, I'm a Sonic fan.
Oh fuck.
I mean, it's pretty obvious, just look at my profile. But I'm also a Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I wouldn't say a huge fan. But I do enjoy the series, and I especially enjoy drawing the characters from the franchise.
Look at that boot!
Luckily, it's exactly what this video's going to be about. Me drawing almost all the FNAF characters from the main games. In case some of you are curious about my thoughts on the movie, I had fun watching it with my friends and enjoyed it quite a bit as a fan. But objectively, I don't think it was a good movie.
You can do whatever you want with your own life, but if you ever bring Abby back here again, I will shoot you.
I like it in here.
That just makes no f***ing sense. I mean, it's just bullshit.
It had many flaws and I was disappointed in various aspects. But I'll leave it there. All I hope is that the second movie will be much better than the first, and I have faith in Scott. Which, let's be honest, that's not a high bar to cross.
I want that movie to be able to stand on its own as a good movie and not ride the coattails of a different part of the franchise. You know, if you were to make a movie that just had the name Five Nights at Freddy's without a whole lot of emphasis on the quality of the movie itself, then yeah, I want the movie to stand on its own.
Yeah.
I want the movie to be good on its own right. I want it to be a great movie.
Anyway, let's get straight to the main topic and start with the legend himself.
O cholera, czy to Freddy Fazbear?
Freddy Fazbear. My style of drawing characters is mostly cartoonish, and when it comes to animal characters, I'm usually inspired by Disney's or Warner Brothers style, or if you like to call it, free. So normally I've been looking at different fan arts on the internet for references, including the questionable ones. Drawing Freddy was pretty simple. I drew him smiling to represent his welcoming nature, made him do a nice little wave, made his entire look overall stylized but still resembles a robot enough, and voila!
Isn't that neat?
Also, I gave Freddy claws, cause well, he's a bear, and I wanted to add another detail to make it distinct enough. Now that Freddy's done, let's move on to everyone's favorite adorable character that also happens to give Scott nightmares, Bonnie.
I'm over here stroking my...
I know there's a big debate going on about whether his color is purple or blue, and it's still going on. Trust me, I know, I've been on this subreddit. Nevertheless, I made my version blue. I gave Bonnie a smug expression because for some reason I always imagined him as a drug addict. Don't ask me how, it's just a style choice. And just like many other fans, Bonnie has always been the adorable one to me. He's like a chill, cute, laid-back dude that smokes a lot of weed, and that's my version of Bonnie. Now let's hop next to the chicken that loves to make a bunch of noises in the kitchen. Or duck. That sounded better in my head, I swear. Doesn't matter either way, it's Chico. Pizza. Now it's fair.
Okay, you know what? I'll stop using the dumb AI Sonic voice. This is my real voice. This voice reveal. Now it's safe to say that Chica has a lot of fan arts, which isn't surprising at all. And in a lot of them, her design is a lot more attractive. I mean, that's not a problem at all. But keep in mind that this is still like only the first Chica from FNAF 1. Either way, she's actually one of my favorite characters from the first game. I think she looks terrifying and also silly at the same time. So when I was drawing her, I wanted to give her a kind of derpy look. When I was a lot younger, let's say 5 years ago, her head, I used to draw it like Red from Angry Birds, except he's yellow. Can't say much about the cupcake, he's basically Chica's pet. They make a good team, kind of like in the movie. I still think Cupcake getting more kills than Chica was just tragic. Chica almost did nothing in this movie. Anyway, that's my version of Chica. I almost want to show you guys the Chica I drew from 5 years ago, but I won't. That would be like showing you guys my search history. I can show you guys the Freddy I drew from 5 years ago though. Now on to the furry's favorite, one of at least. For drawing Foxy, I took the most obvious inspiration, Nick from Zootopia, whom everyone wants to fuck. Another obvious detail I wanted to add to Foxy is give him a cunning expression and also give him a mischievous evil grin, cause he's a pirate. Originally, my idea was to draw him with a wooden foot, but no. Also, I gave Foxy a couple furs on some of his body parts. Oh, and I gave him a tail, so that kinda makes him stand out compared to others.
I came for ye booty.
Alright, next one. Golden Freddy is just a yellow reskin of Freddy, except that he's missing an ear and he's also in a different pose. Also, he just discovered the meaning of life. In my headcanon, Golden Freddy has an existential crisis 24/7. That's why he screams like this and shoots his head like a rocket launcher onto other people's faces to express his depression, I guess. Funny enough, I could have gone with the blue-eye detail like in the movie to make it more distinct from the original Freddy Fazbear. But there are still people who got confused by it, including me at one point, so what do I know?
Why are we still here? Just to suffer?
That's it, next animatronic. Endo06901. This is the most interesting animatronic out of the bunch, because he is one, but he doesn't have any suit, which technically means he's naked. And he's proud of it, he really likes to show it off, which is why I'm drawing him in this pose. But let's address the actual elephant in the room here. His lips. When I was looking at his original design, I knew that that was his mouth, but it also looked like lips. It looked like he had lips, so I drew him lips. So when I posted my artworks on Reddit, this is the one that got the most reactions. Can't say that I'm mad at all because I kinda drew him as a joke. People mostly compare him to 3 characters. It's either the Will Smith fish from Shark Tale, a Big Mouth character, and Dr. Facilier from Princess and the Frog. And I honestly can't unsee it now. And that does it for the FNAF 1 characters. And now let's move on to Five Nights at Freddy's 2, which has like 2 times more animatronics, I think. This one's gonna be an interesting one. Also, do tell me if you guys find my voice annoying. In that case, I'll just reuse the AI Sonic voice. And now let's start with the Giga Chad. Isn't he such a stud? We all know what makes Toy Freddy stand out. He's chubby and he plays a lot of games. He's the ultimate epic gamer of all time. And he also just looks really goofy. But here in my drawing, I'm gonna give him something special, and it's a fedora. The best part about drawing fan arts of characters is that you can turn them into whatever the f you want, and Toy Freddy is perfect for that.
Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my...
Toy Bonnie, or according to other people, Twink Bonnie. There's a lot of fan arts for this one. I figured what really fits this goofy goober is a happy expression because Toy Bonnie seems to be the energetic type. In fact, the toy animatronics just look full of joy and just goofy in general. What I like about Toy Bonnie is that he has a buck teeth, which, you know, makes him look more like a rabbit. Also, I drew him more organic looking ears, if that's how you call it. It's just a small detail to make it slightly different from the original design. One more thing worth noticing is that I didn't give him eyelashes. I know, I'm sorry, but this is just done in my style. You guys can write your angry comments later, and especially for what I'm about to cover next.
Shut your
Guys, I have to be honest. I don't think Toy Chica is that hot.
What the f is wrong with you? You f***ing doll! You have nothing to say! What the fuck?
Now before you guys all go grab pitchforks, just hear me out for a second. I maybe thought she was attractive once, when I was 12.
Call me Purple Guy, because I'm going to put a child in that...
Plus, she's just a chicken, and I'm not a furry. But I won't criticize you guys for obsessing over Toy Chica, just like what you like, you know. Actually, never mind, I think some of you need Jesus. I chose to draw Toy Chica without a beak because it's her being in a scary or attack mode like Scott once said in an interview. I think that's cool. Also, some of you might already notice that her hair is inspired by the Toy Chica from Jacksepticeye's FNAF 2 animation done by James Farr. It's a mystery why it has so much views. Now some of you might think of Love Taste Chica, but no, I've never used her as a reference when I try drawing Toy Chica in my style. That's cause I'm an OG, it's the Jacksepticeye one. And that's all I can say about her really, there's definitely no other detail that's worth mentioning. I'll just say that I will understand if you guys find her to be relatable in some way. Mango, the most controversial FNAF character for all the wildest reasons. She's undoubtedly one of the more interesting characters in the second game. Design-wise, Mango is great and strangely complex. It took me hours to draw her, which is extremely long compared to all the other characters. I gave her eyelashes. I'm also going to refer it as a she because her gender is yes, and I can decide however I call her. I like that her claws are red, it gives off the vibe that she painted her nails or something similar. And one more fun thing I wanted to add was the paddle ball as a reference to FNAF World. I was actually gonna place her red bow tie on top of her head, but I decided to change it back here so that it kinda looks still similar to her original design. And that's all. I really had fun with this one despite the time that it took.
Ow! Ow, that really hurts. Can you stop?
This little bastard. Ho ho. You can already tell by the way I draw his expression that I wanted to give him the most punchable face ever. Fun fact, I looked at other several characters like the one I'm showing right now as references because they look a lot like Balloon Boy. And of course if I want to portray this guy as a little dick, it's not gonna limit to his facial expression only. I gave him Mario or Cuphead shoes, because that's the first thought that came to my mind when I saw his shoes. The most notable difference, however, is that my version of BB doesn't look very robotic, especially when you start comparing the two, which is gonna make punching this son of a bitch even more satisfying. Seriously, for the second movie, I just wanna see Mike go hog wild and punch the shit out of BB for 15 minutes non-stop. Make it happen, Scott. Anyway, that's all for this little prick, but it's not over yet because I have another brat to talk about.
1, 2, 3.
Update, I'm kind of sick as I'm recording this, so my voice might sound different. JJ, or Balloon Girl, if you look at Scott's model, it's basically just BB but with different colors. And I don't want to do the same thing. In my design, she has a dress and eyelashes. Other than that, everything else is pretty much the same. She has the same smug piece of shit expression, and she also got a Glock in her Rari. Marionette slash puppet slash testicles remover. So my puppet, I'm talking about the animatronic itself, is a woman. You can tell with the eyelashes and the lips, although I'm pretty sure the OG model also had lips. I picked a reference while drawing this actually, and it's the Marionette by an artist called Nami Gaga. Before you guys all freak the f out, I do not ship her with a serial killer wearing a bunny fursuit, so don't worry. In fact, in my AU, if I do have one, none of the animatronics would be possessed. They will all be robots with their own conscience. One thing I wish I did differently was the legs. They seem a bit too short, so it looks kinda off. Other than that, I like this design. And Freddy definitely did. Just a little out of context thing. I hope they do Marionette justice if it ever appears in the second film. It's a really interesting and complex character to dive into in my opinion, and I hope it'll be at least well written. Alright, time to talk about the Wizards.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Since I grew up with memes, the only fitting vibe I can give Withered Freddy is a charismatic and seducing look. What, did you expect me to use the word Riz? The Withered animatronics are basically the ones where I try to draw them as close to the original designs as possible because I think they look terrifying. But the goofy element is still there for this animatronic specifically, with the set of separate teeth, like when you see a cartoon character get injured, which already makes it different from the FNAF 1 Freddy Fazbear. Withered Freddy in particular has these dirty spots on him that makes him look old and used. He also has wires sticking out of his armpit. What's funny is that Scott cared about making Withered Freddy distinct enough from the FNAF 1 Freddy, which was supposed to be the same character. But then he made reskins of Withered Freddy for new characters 2 times. And now, time to talk about one of my favorite FNAF characters.
Freddy, my f***ing head is gone. Use one of the spares, you f***ing shit.
Withered Bunny. Without him, we wouldn't have this masterpiece being created. I honestly wouldn't change a single thing about Withered Bunny. His design is just so cool. There are only tiny things I added here and there, like the oil that is dripping from his jaw or the wires that are hanging below it. At first I was planning to draw his arm without the covers, as a reference to Ignited Bunny's design from The Joy of Creation. But I stuck to the official design and drew it this way, just perfect the way it is. My boy Toilet Bunny. Fat ass chicken. The same can be said about her. My version looks a lot like her game model. The most noticeable difference is her jaw. While the original Withered Chica has the jaw detached and loosely held back together by wires or some sort of mechanic, mine has her jaw bent down and seemingly broken. but instead of machinery, it looks like skin or flesh. It gives off the vibe that she has some organic parts, which makes it kinda creepy. She still has feathers on both of her arms. Also look how happy she is. So I think that does it for Withered Chica. Wow, I'm really speeding through these.
Hi, I am Edge Foxy. I am not fooled by a mask cause I am not dumb like the others.
What is there to say about Withered Foxy? His hook is a lot bigger than the one FNAF 1 Foxy has. He's a good hooker. A good looker too. He was one of the only animatronics in FNAF 2 that could tell the night guard with the mask on was not Freddy. You can also interpret Withered Foxy being a good looker in your own way, but not me. Oh yeah, and he has no tail. Other than that, it's just Withered Foxy being transferred to 2D and well, furry. Since this is a bit too short, I will just go ahead and show the Withered Foxy that I drew from 6 years ago. Viewer discretion is advised. This is some next level disturbing imagery. There's nothing to say about this one. It's just a floating head. On second thought, I'll recorrect myself real quick and say that Withered Freddy has over 3 reskins. And that is far from being the last reskin that I'm going to talk about. Scott sure loves his reskins, doesn't he? Shadow Freddy pretty much has the same pose as Golden Freddy. He also looks traumatized. You know, sometimes it's hard for me to talk about these characters because they literally are just recolored versions of 2 other already existing characters. Though this one doesn't have dirty spots and is just Freddy but purple. Moving on to the next Shadow Boy. Shadow Bonnie, or known as RWQFS, I'm not gonna read that. You know, the guy who can crash your computer. That's why he looks so happy. I'm pretty sure he is Toy Bonnie's shadow. I mean, just look at his design. This is also the fastest animatronic I ever drew. Bro only has 2 colors. It is in my headcanon that Shadow Bonnie can float and teleport anywhere he wants. He is one of the most powerful beings in Five Nights at Freddy's. His mere presence can crash your game. That's how strong he is. Looks like I'm almost wrapping up Five Nights at Freddy's 2 because there's only one character left to talk about. The lips may be gone, but he's still trying to seduce you. And I will make sure that this running gag lives on forever. I don't have a lot to say about my versions of the Endo characters because again, they look a lot like their original game designs. I didn't take a lot of creative liberty with them. The Endo one had lips, this one doesn't, but it's striking an even more obvious sexy pose. And you can bet your ass that I'm gonna go even harder on the next Endo characters. And that's all for FNAF 2. Lots of characters, they're all very colorful. I actually replayed the game recently and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Really like the vibe of FNAF 2 and its characters. I hope the second movie does it justice. And the writing too, of course. Next up, Five Nights at Freddy's 3. It has one of my favorite character designs in the entire franchise, but is also one of my least favorite games in the franchise, unfortunately.
You know, sometimes the suit still goes off by itself. This Disney DVD is enhanced with
Springtrap. Probably one of the most popular characters in the franchise, if not one of the most iconic characters in horror gaming. One of the most thirsted over characters too. A very complex character, and most of all, he just looks so badass. Sucks that his jump scare had to look like this. At first, I actually wasn't too satisfied with my Springtrap design. I just thought it looked off. But after seeing Reddit's positive reaction, both from the subreddit and the Discord server,
I heart you too.
I'll talk about the most important part here, the gore. His Spring Bonnie's suit is so rotten and broken that it left a huge gap there at the waist. And that's where his intestines are. They're dark brown. Not too red because I don't want to make it too gory, and realistically I imagine that rotten guts don't look like fresh blood. I don't even know why I'm saying this because this is a man who has been spring locked and left to rot by his own fursona costume for 30 years. But he cares enough not to let his guts spill out. Dude knows how to rearrange organs. And that's when you know he's a ladies' man. Aside from the flesh, I also gave him bones, which is something that the original didn't have, mostly to make it distinct. I do notice that most Springtrap fanarts are yellow. Mine's green because green equals grass, and grass is something that you need to touch if you think about fucking this guy every day. All that being said, great character. Vincent approved. A third Withered Freddy reskin. So for the Phantoms, they have a more yellowish green compared to my version of Springtrap. Even for the face, I made sure Phantom Freddy looked different from Withered Freddy and Shadow Freddy. He still has wires sticking out of his body. He's missing an ear and most noticeably a leg. Now I'm not sure if the official model is actually missing a leg, but I've always assumed that it was the case. Makes it neat.
Ow! Oh, stop it! The bucket hurts. You know what? Die, balloon boy.
Phantom Balloon Bastard. Out of all the ones I could pick to make them creepy, this is the one. The biggest inspiration I had for drawing this face was the false balloon boy from Pop Goes Evergreen. Really amazing design, by the way. Kane Carter outdid himself. The smile and the eyes. Really good stuff. Mine has teeth though. I feel like adding the teeth kind of made it less scary, but whatever. If I had an occasion to make BB look creepy, this is it. This is the one.
Melon!
You can tell the exact moment where I stopped caring and just went full meme mode on several animatronics. But I have to say, this is my proudest work yet. I'm not even doing Phantom Chica dirty. Quite the opposite. I'm doing her justice. There's no better way to represent Phantom Chica than to draw her as a thick watermelon. Withered Foxy reskin, here we go. This guy has one thing in common with Phantom Freddy, and it's that he's missing a body part, but instead of a leg, it's an arm. Oh, and I actually drew a small part of his tail this time, cause Withered Foxy absolutely had no tail. And now I'll get the biggest detail out of the way.
Have at thee! Ah, my fucking knees! Get crowbarred, bitch!
Thanks for the crowbar, Foxy.
Foxy, what the fuck? I don't know, I'm bored!
Always feels nice to reference something nostalgic here and there. Next is Phantom Puppet. I'm actually kind of scared to talk about this one. Phantom Puppet. Looks normal, right? Well, Freddy doesn't think so. The original model also had curves, so I don't know what all the first is about.
Hot as fuck, though.
But good thing I posted this here and not on r/FNAF meme. Anyway, while the regular puppet has roundish eyes, the Phantom version has pointier, sharper eyes. The end of the jaw is also much sharper. And look at that smile. Creepy, ain't it? But I know thousands who would disagree. Another thing is that her legs are longer, so it looks better this time. Oh wait, maybe that's why. That does it for Phantom Puppet. There's only one character left for FNAF 3. Cue the music. Phantom Mango. Yeah, I didn't draw her full body. Call me lazy, but this is what drawing almost 100 FNAF characters does to a motherfucker. Her neck is a bit different from original Mango. She's also hanging from the ceiling this time. But let's talk about the biggest thing here. It was actually a hard decision to make. Should I just keep the regular endo head or should I do something different? And not long after, I chose the latter by drawing a human skull. And that's FNAF 3, I think. Everything in FNAF 3 is green. It's all grass. Please go touch grass from time to time, if possible, even every day. I only played Five Nights at Freddy's 3 through night 5 and stopped because I wasn't enjoying the gameplay that much. The minigames were cool though, and the lore too. And if they're gonna make a FNAF 3 adaptation with this much green color palette, they should get David Fincher as the director. Alright, FNAF 4, one of my least favorite FNAF games gameplay wise. And I will explain why later. What matters the most is the artworks. Nightmare Freddy. I might talk through these very quickly because most of them look almost the same as the original models. So there isn't a lot to dive into. Anyway, I kind of like the Nightmare's animatronics designs, even though it felt like Scott trying really hard to make the game scary. And when I draw most of them, I try to make them look organic like the Twisted One's animatronics. As you can see, my Nightmare Freddy has a lot of fur, and he still has his kids. I don't know how, but he has kids.
It is my son! My own clone! Now neither of us will be virgins!
And one of them probably came out of his balls, which makes total sense.
I made you some hot chocolate. Well, it was originally for me, but for your troubles and me waking you. There we go, just lay that there.
Nightmare Bonnie. Interesting fact. This is one of the only Bonnie characters who has whiskers. There's another one, but that one's yellow. Also, remember the part where I said that I drew most of the Nightmare animatronics with organic parts? Well, this one in particular has a rib cage. A human skeleton looking rib cage. Which is weird, I know, cause he's a rabbit. But body horror, I guess. Look at him rearranging his bow tie though.
Okay, so the first night is never usually that bad in any of the games, so I'll play through.
Why don't you put that fucking phone down, darling, so we could be alone?
Nightmare Chica. I always love just how gross her beak looks. It looks disgusting. I love it. She still has feathers and also a tail behind if you look closely. I despise the cupcake. This dude can become its own character and can kill you in the game. I'm starting to think Scott just really has a thing for Chica's cupcake. He does more things than most of the animatronics did in the movie. And I wouldn't even be surprised if Scott genuinely thought the idea of Cupcake setting the spring locks is awesome, but in reality is just goofy as hell. Getting too sidetracked again, sorry. But there really isn't just that much to talk about my Nightmare Chica. There are many other artists who got way more creative with their own designs. Thankfully, I do have more things to say about my Nightmare Foxy. One of my favorite FNAF 4 characters. While all the others wander around the house, this guy just chills in the closet and spends most of his time there. I imagine that can be relatable for some people. Oh, and he can turn into a marketable plushie, and that's just the cherry on top. I kept his long, alien-like tongue that was seen in the teaser but never in the game, and also added the drools for extra detail. Most of the Nightmare animatronics stood on their 2 feet, but I wanted to make Foxy crawling on all 4 and staring straight into your soul, like a big hungry beast, or a rabid dog. He has these kind of spikes on his back, and last but not least, a tail. Now that's a monster if I do say so myself. But oh wait, we got an even bigger one coming up. Fredbear! I'm kidding, Nightmare Fredbear. I know you guys are thinking about the meme. I'm saving it for actual Fredbear. This is Nightmare Fredbear. The biggest animatronic I have drawn so far, and no, I haven't drawn security breach characters yet. Awesome character. Peak design. Before I talk about his belly, I want to mention his hands first, cause I wanted to make sure that these bad boys are big, meaty, and have the sharpest claws. These hands hold so much power that he can bitch slap anyone. And next, the mouth, not the one on the belly, the regular one, is heavily inspired by the twisted one Freddy, especially if you look at the inside of it. And lastly, the giant tongue sticking out of his mouth belly, with all the wrinkles and stuff. Some might find this scary, some might find this hot, I don't care. I love drawing this guy. And I also want to give a quick shout out to this fan art. This is not just the greatest Fredbear artwork, but probably the greatest, hardest FNAF artwork known to mankind. Seriously, this drawing f***s. Wow, this is actually the most fun I had talking about a character. Good news is, the next couple drawings start to get pretty wacky.
Nobody wants to watch this stupid movie!
Look, if you don't like it, you can leave!
Okay, but yeah! No! That's a Freddy Fast yacht right there!
Springtrap Sun. The smallest animatronic in FNAF 4 but still as vicious. I added the chair as well because it just complements even more to the vibe that I'm going for. What I like is that for once, this is one of the easier FNAF 4 characters to draw. And 2, I love this facial expression. One can only imagine so much of what he's saying or implying with this posture, those hand gestures, and that face. Remember the chest that ends up serving absolutely zero purpose to the story because Scott never brought it up again? Well, now it does serve a purpose because inside is actually full of drugs, the good stuff, and Plushtrap is making a deal with you, and he's very convincing too. This might get memed, and I will be happy if it does.
I crash your game, but I am Darth Fredbear.
A perfectly accurate and normal artwork of Nightmare, which is just Nightmare Fredbear but black and transparent. I went kind of wild, I mean very mundane with this one. I mainly just want to talk about my favorite aspect of my drawing of Nightmare, and it's his abdomen, which is just the Death Star. He has the cape, the red lightsaber, the pose, so why not just do this? You either get slain by him or join the dark side. Also, guess what? He is the crying child's father. I solved the lore. You're welcome. Side note, I kind of rushed the endoskeleton parts. They don't look very detailed. That's me being lazy. Onto the DLC characters, we have this lovely trick-or-treat duo. If you look closely at Jacko Bonnie, his body doesn't seem to be having fur and it looks as if it's made out of pumpkin, which is exactly what I'm going for. I liked adding the glow effect inside of him. You can see some orange, yellowish light shining through some of his orifices. And also a glowing, slimy liquid that's inside of his mouth and slowly drooling out, kind of like a syrup. Now, for all of those who were upset at the way I drew Phantom Chica, good news for you. I have treated Jack-O Chica with even more respect this time. She looks so good that Jacko Bonnie points and laughs at her. That's what I call recognition. The fire that's burning from the fury of her eyes isn't just a style choice. It's also to associate the character with fire like the way the game does. And also, pumpkin. Believe it or not, I don't hate Nightmare BB. He's less annoying than regular Balloon Boy and I kinda like his design. His head is a literal hamburger. You can probably fit a child inside that thing. Once again, like most of the Nightmare animatronics I drew, there's an organic feel to this design. Like his human looking nose, his legs especially, and the details on those knees. I didn't keep the same consistency when drawing his arms though. I guess lack of consistency is one thing I have in common with Scott. Also, the inside of his mouth is brown, which is flesh, not dark blue like in the game. I think that's it for Nightmare BB. It's a Nightmare BB only drawing.
My name is Kane. I am your bitch.
Okay, fine, they have the same color palette, I couldn't help it. Let's move on to Venom. Nightmarion unironically goes hard. It's like the puppet, Slenderman, and Venom all merged into one. The original puppet had a clean, smooth feel when it comes to its design, while Nightmarion's entire body has all of these wrinkles and parts that look like tree roots or bones. Or in this case, it looks like Groot. It has a defining ribcage and pelvis, and also an extremely thin waist, which is why I like the bizarre monstrous approach that I went for this character. My version of Nightmarion is also partly inspired by Monster Bendy from the Dark Revival game. Its foot looks like hooves, but I guess much more thin. Holy crap, I didn't make a single tentacle joke talking about this one. I'll probably speed through this one very quickly. The most interesting part of Nightmare Mango is that this is the closest you'll ever get to what a Nightmare endoskeleton might look like. Close to Nightmare since his suit is transparent. But here you can see a lot of details. Other than that, it's just Nightmare Foxy but with different colors. They even have the same tongue, that's why people ship these two. And yeah, that wraps up FNAF 4. So what I don't like about FNAF 4 is really just gameplay wise, maybe because I played the mobile version, I don't know. But I tried really hard to listen to the breathing sound and I never hear anything, despite turning the volume to max. And when the jump scare hits, I got an earring. You can argue that's what makes it scary, whatever, but I can't hear shit every time so I keep losing. I've been stuck at night 2 for eternity. You can even say that I have skill issue and I'd be fine with that because I have no intention replaying FNAF 4. Lore wise, it's pretty good, mostly. But the animatronics designs are cool enough, not to mention there are plenty, so in the end I had fun drawing them. Okay, sister location. My opinion on this game is going to be controversial. You wanna know why? Cause it's one of my favorites in the franchise. Starting off with Circus Baby. Very unique character design in my opinion, like most sister location characters anyway. Judging from her appearance and her name, she is about 7 feet tall. She's the biggest animatronic out of the crew, which isn't the case here in my version. I have actually gone through a lot of designs for my version of Circus Baby. It would always change, and I'm happy to say that I currently like this one. She is a mix of the original Circus Baby and the Charlie one from the graphic novel. A few other fan arts also came in mind, except for the fizzy one. I personally don't really like it.
Oh God, pass! Pass and never show me it again!
I would say proportions wise, she looks closer to the graphic novel version, especially with the thin waist. But her face is not humanized at all. Her cheeks are a bit sharper and kinda sticks out compared to the game model. I drew her eyes in the same style as Akko from Little Witch Academia. Speaking of which, I don't really watch anime, at least not as often as I used to. But most of the stuff Studio Trigger makes slaps. Her eyelids are purple. This is a personal style choice, so are her hands, minus the red circle on her palm, which is seen in her game design. Here her eyes are blue, not green. If I remember correctly, blue eyes indicate that she's not possessed by Elizabeth. Unless my FNAF lore knowledge is failing me. I like her jester shoes, but I never understood what these pins are for. I'll just headcanon my circus baby that she likes doing acupuncture, and she never once thought of removing the pins. And her pigtails look more fat. That's it for circus baby. I stylized this one a lot. I like it. Spider Mommy! I'm just as bad as someone from r/FNAF meme now. Oh my god. You guys were probably wondering, there has to be at least one FNAF character that I find attractive. She's the one, outside of number 1 crate. Not to mention she looks the most human out of the animatronics. Plus look at her outfit, do I even need to say more? But on a second note, what the hell was Scott thinking when he made her? On to my Ballora. Like Circus Baby, I went through quite a lot of different designs for her. And you can easily tell in these old drawings that I was not the best when it comes to proportions. And I was just a naive little boy. I mean, I am still very young now, but hey, I got better at drawing proportions. I hope so at least. The 2022 version was actually not too bad, but looking back, I'm not very fond of the way I drew her waist and her tutu. This, however, oh, I am happy. I stuck with the tradition of keeping Ballora's eyes closed. Similar to my baby, her eyelids are purple and so are her hands. She got blue nails though. And here I am actually happy with the proportions. I love her tutu, her heels, these textures on her legs. I don't know if I should call them pantyhose, but I don't think they are. One thing I added are these black bracelets, purely for fashion. I think Ballora could have been a really good character if she had more going for her. She has her own theme song, she crawls like a spider, which is cool. It just kinda sucks that her entire presence resorts to this. But anyway, that was my Ballora. I like Ballora. Moving on. Boy, did I hate this bastard in Custom Night, but today we're here to talk about my funtime Freddy. I just want to mention first real quick, in case you wonder why I have older fanarts of sister location characters but not others, it's simply the fact that I draw sister location characters the most. And like I said, the game is one of my favorites in the franchise, so there is bias. All that being said, I don't like this drawing from 2021. The 3 separate doodles are cool, but I don't like the main one, which is ironic. But fast forward to 3 years, look how adorable he is now. And there's no abusive bonbon this time. Yet. You know one thing though, I don't have much commentary to say on this one other than it's just funtime Freddy but really cute and cartoony, so I'll just let you enjoy the drawing process while the background music plays. Marvelous. Hey Bonbon, bring out the next character. I'm sorry, but Funtime Foxy is the cooler character with a radio voice before Alistair became popular.
Metro Boomin, make it boom.
Funny story, I have no older artwork for Funtime Foxy, but check out this drawing that I did years ago. Now let's get back to the current one. If you've heard his voice lines, then you can tell that he has a male voice. When drawing Funtime Foxy, I was drawing with the mindset that he's a male. But at the same time, I kinda ended up making him in a way that you can't exactly tell whether he's a male or a female. Though to me he still looks more like a male, maybe it's because of the eyebrows. But if I ask Freddy's opinion, which is where I shared a couple of my art, a lot of kind folks over there would describe Funtime Foxy as zesty, or just very gay. And I see the appeal, totally. All that said, I'm fucking proud of this. His pose and facial expression, I am very happy with how it turned out. And one last thing, this is the Foxy with the biggest tail in my collection of Foxy, so that's saying something. Alright, it's scooping time. Spaghetti. Okay, drawing this guy was an absolute process. The amount of individual wires was overwhelming. It took a lot of time. Now I just know that based on the face and especially the teeth, some of you would think that there's a Vivzipop inspiration. And you're not completely wrong, since I'm still drawing my Ennard as if he was part of the Tumblr Sexy Men. Yep, I know about that. I mean, look at him, and I am saying that as a straight guy. But there's also a couple of NARD fan arts that I took inspiration from, so yeah. There's something about this pose that's so funny to me. It just screams, wait a minute, that looks like... So Ennard was supposed to be an amalgamation of all 4 animatronics, so in Sister Location, his body from the chest to the pelvis area is pretty wide. Not here. I made him a lean boy. A very handsome, slim spaghetti boy. I said scoop in time like 2 minutes earlier, but that hasn't happened yet, so I guess I'll use that as a transition now. Guess I'm gonna start with the Babs first. So we got Bitty Bab and Electro Bab. Design wise in the games, there's absolutely no way to tell them apart aside from the eye colors. So this is my opportunity to change that and do my own spin on it. You can easily tell which one is Electro Bab now.
You should kill yourself now.
I also realized that both of them look like baby monkeys. So that's something. When you think about it, these two are kind of like circus babies. That's weird. Next up is the Minarinas, who are very chaotic. Usually when I draw the same character, I like to make them different one another. Most of the time you don't see Minarinas with iris or pupil, their eyes are just pitch black. But when you do, it's yellow and it's during their jump scares. And just like here, one of them has yellow eyes. Yeah, that's it. We got 2 more left, so strap in. Normally I wouldn't have these two together, but the contrast of expressions is kinda funny. Let's start with Lolbit first. If I drew Lolbit like the Sister Location custom night version, then she'll just be a floating head. And if I drew Lolbit's full regular body, then she'll just be a Funtime Foxy reskin. Something I don't want either. So the reference I used to make a Lolbit this unique is none other than the one from the Click Team teaser. I love her vibe and her outfit so damn much, this was obviously gonna be a reference for me. There are some changes I've made, like how she wears an orange shirt under her black and white jacket. She wears blue jeans and a belt, with the button being a reference to her Please Stand By logo. That does it for Lolbit. Time for Grumpy Old Bonnet. Yeah, it's a recolored Bonbon with eyelashes. She's pissed because Bonbon keeps spending time with Funtime Freddy, even though his ass is stuck to Freddy's hand, so he can't exactly move anywhere. Also, this won't be the last time you'll see a character smoke. Alright, just one left to go. I did tell you guys during the Endo 02 part that I'm only gonna go harder on each Endo character, so don't tell me that I didn't warn you. If you forgot, that's your fault. You could say I didn't draw his full body because this kind of frame really fits the vibe that he's trying to raise you. Wow, I guess what I said during the Withered Freddy commentary did not age well. Also, I've just gone through drawing Ennard, so I really don't feel like drawing the full body of another animatronic that has nothing but wires. Now, if I can remember, Yendo drains your oxygen during custom night. I mean, when you see him like this, he's quite breathtaking.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
And that wraps up Sister Location. I love this game so much, and I still do now, because it felt like Scott trying to do something different while still maintaining that horror element and some sci-fi vibes, which is usually a mix that I love. And there was just more things to do in Sister Location compared to the previous games. There is more immersion, the music is great, the visuals are great, the atmosphere is great, and of course the characters are great. So is the voice acting.
That's gross. Spiders are awful. I don't like them. They're creepy and awful. I think Ballora would be more like a snake.
It's peak to me and I will forever defend this game. But Pizzeria Simulator is good too, and it has some great characters to make fan arts of. So I'm not gonna waste any more time and jump right in. Scrap Baby is such a banger of a design. Is it exhausting to draw her considering the crap ton of details? Yes, but it's so worth it. Also, I've never seen a single FNAF fan mention this, but I've always wondered if she isn't a reference to Edward Scissorhands. Just something that has been on my mind for a while. Anyway, I did have a couple of Scrap Baby doodles before I started drawing this, but I'm completely satisfied with the final result. I want to talk about her claw. Just look at this thing. What a killer machine. I'm also gonna throw some fan arts in here real quick where I took a bit of inspiration from. Here we go. Her pigtails here are different from the game version, and most notably I turned her tiara into a freaking crown. Scrap Baby is just so peak, man. I love her. Another one of these that took a lot of time to draw because it's yet again a huge pile of spaghetti. But do you know the thought process I had when trying to draw this guy? I asked myself, what if I made Molten Freddy a really buff monster? You can say I got a bit more creative with this one. His lower body is still a large plate of pasta, but I gave him very big, muscular arms. Very big hands too, with sharp claws. He has a huge back with big spikes on it to really hammer down the monster physique. I like his face as well. I actually think Molten Freddy's face looked pretty terrifying. And of course all the eyes are still there. He's essentially just entered, but with Freddy's head slapped on it, and he also went to the gym. Thank you, next character. Hot take. Scraptrap's design is not that awful.
Are you retarded?
Look, hear me out. Story-wise, it still makes zero sense that this change even happened. But honestly, I think being consistent would be too much to ask for Scott, whether it's character designs or writing the lore. And he still looks like Jimmy Neutron or whatever the hell this is when you take his mask off. All that being said, strictly design speaking, I don't think it looks horrible. But at the same time, I'm a person who finds this attractive, so my opinion might not matter. As for my Scraptrap, a few people have said that he looks like Bugs Bunny, and I do see why. The fact that he has a devious smile and a buck tooth also enhances that. I like the fact that he has claws. I actually think claws are really cool features for Springtrap, maybe just not when the design in question looks like a peanut. And of course, can't forget about the gore. A bit of the guts hanging out and his exposed skull, not to mention these on the arms and legs. It's the kind of stuff I like drawing that's not too hardcore. But I can't for the life of me explain his feet, like how does that even work? Either way, not a superb design, but one that I find amusing, absolutely me material and enjoyable to draw. Moving on.
Lefty is $5! You guys seeing this shit?
The reason Lefty is so cheap is because there are literally 2 reskins of him and they both look more polished than this poor bastard. Anyway, just like most of my Freddys, Lefty has claws. But I forgot to draw them on his feet for some reason. And by the time I realized that, I already finished this drawing. The thing I liked doing the most was adding the puppet's hand coming out and holding the hat. The hand is also coming specifically from the left side from our POV because his name is Lefty. I'm gonna shut up also because I have nothing else to say about this, so enjoy the drawing process.
Lefty's $5!
Helpy, one of the most therapeutic characters in Five Nights at Freddy's, because you can torture him how much you want for your own sick entertainment. Unless we're talking about this guy. But today we're gonna talk about this guy. I can't express how much I like drawing small characters that look mischievous or downright evil. My Helpy is essentially an intelligent, cocky businessman who can easily manipulate people. The glasses are to determine how smart he is, and the cash he's holding determines how rich he is by running Fazbear Entertainment in the most capitalist way possible. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. Anyway, another interesting thing about Helpy, design-wise this time, is that he's just a smaller version of Funtime Freddy, but with a buck tooth and no bonbon. Also, in my IU, he does drugs a lot. Besides all that, what a meme this character is. Ah, the good old times when 12-year-old me used to think that this is official. And even if this model looks a lot like Toy Chica, I unironically prefer this over the official Funtime Chica design. It looks so stylized, but this is pretty good too, I guess. I like that she has a speaker on her body similar to Funtime Freddy and Foxy. Some continuity, finally. And based on her personality and Ultimate Custom Night, it's only fair to draw her striking this kind of pose. I added some detail over there to make it seem like she's wearing a vest. Her cupcake isn't here, so sorry for that. Also, whenever I don't say anything after, it just means that I'm letting you guys enjoy the video without commentary. Like this.
Cheese grommet.
El Chip, best character from the objectively best FNAF game in the entire franchise.
That thing looks like it's gonna kill your children.
There is no commentary to be said about the messiah of Five Nights at Freddy's other than he's so cool and can cook excellent meals. So watch this while I put loud festive music.
Los pollos hermanos.
Music Man!
We had Spider Mom, now introducing Spider Dad. Look, I like Ballora, but come on, Music Man is pretty awesome too. He gives off super cool dad musician that can perform for 420 minutes vibes. He's someone that really enjoys life, which is something I hope that you guys do, can do, or will do. I like that his feet are symbols. Also the tiniest things like giving him shades or a little beard can make him hotter. Really putting the man in Music Man.
Please deposit, please deposit, please deposit.
This dude is so annoying in Ultimate Custom Night. Thankfully, there's nothing like that to worry about in here. Rockstar Freddy is a very confident guy who loves money and thinks fast coin is the strongest currency there is. I have nothing else to say. Okay, there is one thing. I tried making his face different than Lefty's.
Here's the fucking money, shithead!
This is maybe one of the scariest bunnies in my opinion. Anyway, I made him depressed because he lost his guitar, which is in line with the game, and this time no one's here to help him. To that I say, you dummy, how can you lose something that's about the size of your spine? By the way, I like his voice. He has a cool voice. My favorite Rockstar animatronic, no question. Who knows, one simple trait or gimmick can make a character 10 times better. And I really want to exaggerate that to an even bigger degree in my Rockstar Chica drawing. Giving her that big terrified expression a la Looney Tunes. I just love drawing over the goofy shit. And instead of a regular wet floor sign, I'm just gonna throw in Caution Bot, which is also a tease for security breach characters because inevitably I will have to draw them, but they're not in this video. Back to Rockstar Chica, I certainly enjoyed drawing mean old chicken with anger issues and a phobia of falling onto the ground.
This old bird is afraid of wet floor signs.
Another Rockstar animatronic that I appreciate. He's just a chill guy until he decides to kill you because fuck you. But generally speaking, he's pretty cool. And we finally have a variant of Foxy with a wooden leg, so that's really neat. He's also the only Foxy who has a musical instrument. Speaking of which, this is probably the most simplified drawing of an accordion you'll ever see. Also, you know me well with making small characters super wacky. And in this case, it's Rockstar Foxy's parrot, whose name I don't even know. But you can tell these two love to smoke a fat blunt together. All that being said, Rockstar Foxy is cool. Just don't touch his bird all the time or he'll flip it right back to you. Scott said, what if Mater from Cars and Goofy had a child and turned that child into Freddy?
I was just waiting for you to drop your guard.
I have to say though, Ned Bear might be one of the most unique ones design-wise out of all the Freddys. That is, if we can even count him as a Freddy. He's the only Freddy who wears that tie instead of a regular bow tie like how all of the other Freddys wear. His hat is attached to his head by a spring, so that's pretty cool. And his face just looks completely different from all the previous Freddys. There is no way in hell you can look at his face and then tell me that this dude can walk straight. Headcanoning him as a drunk sounds very fitting in my books, hence the booze. Happy Frog. Kermit the Frog. I think I ended up making her look more like a lizard than a frog, but it doesn't matter. She has frog in her name, so she's still a frog. Very odd choice to give a frog character buck teeth, but they're supposed to be Looney Tunes rip-off, so I guess it works. Now, what I like the most about the drawing, it's her trying to be a ninja, and her hands and feet being actually frog-like, instead of just regular hands and feet like 80% of the other animatronics. Oh, and she's one of the few animatronics who wear pants. By this logic, most of the animatronics in FNAF enjoy being butt-ass naked. I have as much to say about Pick Patch as I have to say about FNAF World in this video so far. Wait, okay, there is one thing. Since this is like mediocre melodies, I always like to imagine this Pig Patch as Porky Pig.
Go home, folks.
My friend, you have met a terrible, terrible demise. But you know, sometimes it happens when you stumble upon a video that has some cringe moments or moments that show this is not a professional video. It reminds me of when I realized that the text-to-speech Sonic voice just wasn't doing it and I had to use my real voice instead. But what if my real voice sounds even worse than that text-to-speech Sonic voice? Or what if I got out of topic and ramble on too long for, let's say, I can't do this shit no more. And that's Mr. Hippo, hope you enjoyed it. I bet you can already imagine what character I had in mind to take inspiration from while trying to draw Orville in a cartoon style. What's funny is that Scott gave Orville elephant feet, but he doesn't care about giving the rest of the mediocre Melodies members feet that match their animal counterparts. Also, him having a flower as his bow tie like Mr. Hippo is a nice little detail implying that the two are good friends. Unless it's just a coincidence. And let's not forget about his magical wand. Wank? I'm not very good at pronouncing. I had so much fun drawing this and I don't need to tell you why. There was no way I will finish this lineup of fan arts without including Balloon Boy getting murdered in at least one of them. Also, this is just a me thing, but I can see Security Puppet as the Funtime version of Puppet. It's very different from the original Puppet, and I like that. It's also the only time I draw Puppet being in a music box, because most of the time I would draw their full body. But I don't think we ever see Security Puppet outside of the music box, aside from the minigame, and that doesn't count. All that being said, this was super fun to draw. Take that, BB. Remember when I said that El Chip is the best FNAF character? Yeah, I'm gonna put Trash in a gang right next to that spot because these characters are unbelievably peak. Weird taste maybe, but you know what they say, another man's trash is another man's treasure. So let's start with number 1 crate, hottest Five Nights at Freddy's character and beats Ballora by a mile. Why? Because there are so many layers of attractiveness to this character. Next up is Bucket Bob, look at him, he's so silly, he looks like he's about to fall. Behind is Mr. Can Do, and let me tell you why he has a great name, because for every single character in this franchise that has possibility to play an important part in the lore, for all we know, Mr. Can Do is super significant to the story and we just haven't realized it yet. It's in his name, he can do anything. Holy fastball, Scott, you are such a genius. And then we got Pan Stan, he's a pan. Ooh, and we got Mr. Hugs, whose rivalry with Tar Freddy doesn't stop and will never stop. After following this franchise for 8 years and having drawn over more than 70 animatronics, I realized that I might need therapy. This is how I feel drawing the 73rd character so far. But hey, thank goodness I'm at the end. Oh. You know what, all of this is for another video that won't be releasing anytime soon. Now let's get back to Lemonade Clown. This guy's face, as well as Fruit Punch, reminds me of Wallace and Gromit characters. One thing I had a bit of fun doing was the bubbles forming a frown inside of his bladder. Wait, no, sorry, it's lemonade, right? So there you go, I like drawing depressed clowns. So that leaves us one more and then we finally wrap this bad boy up. Astro Spiff will not forgive me for this, but I can finally say that it's Fred over. Practically every single animatronic from the first game to Pizzeria Simulator, not including FNAF 4 because I refuse to torture myself even further, has been drawn. And Pizzeria Simulator seems like the perfect place to end this video, which is a part 1. Plus, Pizzeria Simulator has one of the greatest ending monologues I have ever seen in the franchise and actually feels like a good conclusion. I sure hope the story is perfectly satisfied with where it ends and the next installments are set in a completely different timeline where it doesn't mess the story even more and makes the whole lore barely comprehensible now. All that being said, I might give off the feeling that I am tired from drawing all of these characters, and trust me, I am. But it is still an absolute joy to draw all of this. It is a joy for me to draw in general, especially when it involves a franchise I like and sharing it with you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. It's probably the longest video I ever made and also one of the first videos of this type that I ever made. So for every single moment that you cringed or rolled your eyes during this video, I deeply apologized. You guys can give me feedbacks in the comments and say some things, and I will try to improve for the next video, which is probably gonna come out in only 6 months or something. Maybe even next year, who knows. But if you guys enjoyed this video a lot and want to see other stuffs I do like animations or artworks and want to support me, I have a Patreon and the link is in the description. I don't post a lot on there, but there are stuffs, exclusive content on there that aren't on my YouTube channel or my DeviantArt. So I'll see you guys, and you're not gonna hear this voice in a long time until part 2 of this video comes. Goodbye. Maybe if my regular voice sounds this bad, I should do a shadow impression. I'll actually see if I can do one, hold on. Sonic, this is Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. You said there'd be Latinas here.